get to this. AEW had a fun week because they went uncensored.
Last night on AEW Dynamite, there was a very powerful moment during the main event that saw Brody King versus MJF. But the moment came when the Las Vegas crowd started heavily chanting, "Fuck Ice." The video and moment has gone viral, and multiple news outlets have picked it up. Last year, when AEW went to Mexico for their Grand Slam show, Brody King wore an Abolish Ice t-shirt and was one of the first wrestlers to really go out there and speak out about the cruelty being shown by Ice and Donald Trump's administration. On top of that, Brody King has also used his platform to raise money for the Minnesota Immigrants' Rights Action Committee, posting that they raised over $58,000. Shout out to the fans for coming together and making such a powerful, strong moment and sending a loud message: abolish ICE.
If you guys don't know, during the main event between Brody King and MJF, in order to get a championship spot in the future, and the Vegas crowd in that city suddenly started chanting F Ice, obviously, because Brody King was very strong about it, but from previous years, but it got to the point that even MJF looked. The funniest thing about this is his face reaction right here when they started chanting it. But I guess they clipped a video. Now, this video is not going to be talking about the politics of ICE, just so you guys know. It's just the way they didn't uncensor it until Denise, I guess, got censored just now. And yeah, we're going to see how MJF reacts to this, because later in the week he talks about how AEW works with their fans. Anyway, we got a huge update, and this coming out of February 4th Dynamite in Las Vegas. If you were watching live, you probably did a double take. You might have reached for the remote to check the volume, because what happened right before the main event wasn't just loud, it was raw, dynamite, uncut, and completely uncensored. We're talking about the MJF versus Brody King match. The crowd in Vegas, well, they had some things to get off their chest, specifically a very loud that rang out clear as day. And instead of hitting the mute button, AEW let it ride. MJF is now doing a victory lap in the media, calling AEW the listening company, how they are able to allow the fans speak the way they want in chant form, as long as, I guess, it's respectful, while WWE tends to sanitize their chats during live events. And what do I mean about that?
WWE would never admit it. They were concerned about All Elite Wrestling.
Let me pull up the video.
When the company was launched in January 2019, this was proven when a fan sitting front row at the Royal Rumble was forced to remove his AEW shirt before the show started. Luckily, he was wearing a second shirt underneath. Some fans felt it was petty of WWE to make the fan take his shirt off, until partway through the show when the fans suddenly weren't wearing their costumes. This wasn't by choice. According to the fans, a WWE manager said their costumes were too distracting and they needed to take them off. If they didn't, then WWE would kick them out of their front row seats, which cost over $1,000 in total. The fan on Styles at the Payback pay-per-view, a fan brought a sign that said, "When it rains, it pours." After the show, WWE photoshopped the sign.
And they photoshopped the sign right there.
So it just read, "When it rains." I'm not trying to dog on Roman Reigns, but you need to see this.
Drew McIntyre chants on SmackDown. Now, there was a bit of a weird moment as SmackDown in London kicked off tonight, because as the fans were celebrating the new Undisputed Champion, the company weirdly started censoring the Drew McIntyre chants, "Roll the clip." Maybe Triple H wanted it to seem like the fans were chanting something else at Drew, like they were unhappy with him taking the title off Cody, but Drew truly got a hero's welcome in London. Did you notice they censored Drew?
I mean, we know about WWE sanitizing. Obviously,
Join now, but
MJF is using the moment to help promote the product. Now, like I said, we're not going to talk about the ICE situation. I understand, but this channel mainly going to stay off the politics. We're just going to talk about the wrestling and how they go about it. Let's start with the core thing about this. From that situation, does it seem this is a desperate grab for controversy, or is this actually the smartest branding move AEW made in 2026? Going back to this Vegas incident, as they will call it now going forward, let's once again go over what went down. Wednesday night, Vegas, main event. You got MJF, you got Brody King. The energy is already there for the eliminator match. But before the bell even rings, the crowd starts chanting, and this wasn't your standard "this is awesome" or "fight forever." It started low and then it hit like a truck. F ice over and over and over. Now, usually on cable television, there's a delay, there's a guy in a truck whose entire job is to panic and hit the dump button or fade the crowd mics when things get too spicy or chaotic. WWE has turned this into an art form, but here, nothing. The audio feed didn't cut, the commentary team didn't try to talk over it loudly to drown it out. Bryce Remsburg, the ref, actually delayed calling for the bell. He stood there, MJF and Brody stood there, and they just let the moment breathe. It was unreal. And look, I'm watching this thinking, okay, surely someone is getting fired in the truck right now, because honestly, that's what would have happened in WWE. Because from a frantic advertiser standpoint, having an entire arena chanting F-bombs about a government agency is usually a red flag. But then you look at MJF's face in that ring, he wasn't panicked. He wasn't trying to shush them with like a substitute t-shirt. And that brings us to the aftermath, because if you thought this was just a technical glitch or a sleepy audio engineer, MJF cleared that up pretty quick. Days later, MJF sits down for an interview with DraftKings, and typically these interviews are fluff pieces, you know, I'm the best, I'm going to win the title, standard wrestling promo stuff. But he goes off script, or maybe perfectly on script about the audio.
Because right now, I think what people want more than anything is rest and reprieve from all the horrible shit that's going on in the world. And I'm glad that that's something that I get to provide at AEW. And also another thing that's great at AEW is that our fans have a voice. So I'll say literally last night, we were in Vegas and they started an F-Ice chant.
So there we go. He's gonna go and talk about this past Wednesday.
I'll say literally last night, we were in Vegas and they started an F-Ice chant. Now, I don't care what side of the political line that you land on. There's no other wrestling promotion that wouldn't censor the fans. But we don't do that. We're the listening company.
And there you go. Yeah, you think it's a cool moment? Yeah, it's a cool moment. They allow their fans to speak their voice. I mean, that's the beauty of wrestling. Let the fans speak what they want, as long as it's respectful. They're not creating harm or hurting people around them. As long as it's just their voice, that's the thing. He says, and I quote, "There's no other wrestling promotion that wouldn't censor the fans. We're the listening company."
So if all the fans want to chant that,
we don't censor the fans.
We're going to let them chant that. And I think that that's inherently really cool and awesome. And I think that's what makes my company special. We don't censor the fans. And it's nice. It's very nice.
So the listening company, that is the branding hammer right there. He explicitly framing this is not as an oops, we forgot to mute it, but we respect you, the fans, enough to let you scream whatever you want. He's taking what could be seen as a production error and turning it into a philosophical stance against the competition. Honestly, I don't see it as a production error. Like you said, it's AEW being AEW. They are trying to be different from WWE, and them listening to the fans is what they do. At least to MJF's statement, that's their motto, to listen to the fans, and that means allowing them to say what they feel during a match. He's basically saying, hey, over there in New York or Stanford, they treat you like children, they edit your voice, they pipe you in fake cheers. Here, we give you the mic. And honestly, it's kind of brilliant. It leans into that question it all vibe. It makes the viewers feel like they are part of something dangerous, something live. Think about it. When was the last time you watched a WWE show and it felt like the crowd could genuinely hijack the show and the company would just let them? MJF knows exactly what he's doing by calling AEW the listening company. He's turning it into a positive. He's making this situation a positive. He's saying we aren't corporate suits, we aren't the people's issues or violence, but they're just there for the people. That's what AEW is trying to put. But it's going to start raising a big question about the other guys. So we talked about WWE with their when it comes to them muting mics and fans. We're going to talk about them a bit. The WWE machine itself. We all know the drill. when it comes to them. You watch a show, Roman Reigns comes out, and the booing sounds back in 2016. They try to mute it, they try to lower the sound. You start hearing chants that of CM Punk when CM Punk wasn't around. They try to mute it like they were cursing when it's not really true. So you hear the first chant, and all of a sudden you hear the volume go down to 0, or you feel it going down to 0. They have spent decades trying to sanitize their audio when it comes to the fans. They want to keep it PG. They edit replays if a crowd chants holy shit. You better believe that getting scrubbed from the YouTube upload and Peacock, and the YouTube upload and the Peacock replays are going to happen. But yeah, and there's a business logic when it comes to WWE, at least. Advertisers love safety. They love control. They have their trading company. They're a company that's under Wall Street, so they have to do certain things, and I guess this is one of them. But AEW doesn't have to do that. When you sanitize a crowd, you kill the feeling of anything can happen. You turn a live sport into a sitcom with a laugh track. Perfect example, the Thunderdome. That's the ultimate version of it. Literally, fake crowd noise pumped in. It was dystopian. I understand due to the time, but that is probably the perfect setup for them. It's been a year since WWE did that. I want to say Daniel Bryan, but even Daniel Bryan's situation, the TakeOver Raw, I feel that was still controlled. They followed suit with what the fans were saying, but the whole event where all of them were in the ring, that was controlled. So anyway, remember, this is, like I said, the Thunderdome is the perfect example, obviously, of them trying to control the audio. So when AEW leaves the fader up, I mean the volume, during the F-Ice chants, it is jarring. It feels like a glitch in the Matrix because we have been conditioned, at least the WWE big fans are, to expect that to be muted. WWE playing it safe. They are protecting the image, but in doing so, they are losing the soul of the room. MJF seems to think so. He thinks that safety is actually dishonesty. And looking at the reaction online, and a lot of people are agreeing. They thought this moment was a cool moment. Even the people in this chat are saying it's a cool moment. You gotta let it happen sometimes, but they didn't. So let's look at, I guess, the bigger picture here when it comes to this. What does this mean in the future of these broadcasts? It's absolutely nothing. We're just going to keep moving forward. This thing's going to be probably forgotten in the weeks to come. It's a viral moment for the week. It's maybe a few weeks, but we'll move on. It just proves that AEW's, as MJF says, the listening company. Is AEW going to just let everything fly now, though? Because it can become a dangerous move. Today could be this, which depending on who's watching or the people watching's politics, you might support or hate. But what happens when the chant is something truly vile? What happens when it becomes hate speech? Does the listening company keep listening then? So, although this was fine, who knows what can happen next, or if other people will retaliate because of that. That's the risk. If you brand yourself as uncensored alternative, you have to own whatever the crowd throws at you. You can't cherry pick. But right now, for where AEW is at, taking L's on the production value, sometimes to get that W on authenticity, it seems to be the strategy. MJF capitalizing on this proves they are aware of the differentiation. They know they can outproduce WWE at times, they can outpolish them at times, so they are going to out-edge them. They are saying we are the gritty alternative. And honestly, in a world where everything feels safe, soft, AI generated, and corporate approved, hearing 1,000 people scream and an expression in unison on live TV, it wakes you up. It makes you pay attention. So whatever you think of the politics of the chant, the business of the chant is fascinating. AEW is betting that you want the truth, even if the truth is messy and loud. So at the end of the day, when it comes to this, AEW is leaning into the chaos. MJF is spinning a positive PR out of this whole thing, and WWE is probably checking their audio compressors as we speak, because Vegas is going to be their home for WrestleMania 42. Are we going to see the same thing? Probably not, because they're going to get those microphones ready to mute. But anyway, but I want you to know I want to know what you think. Is the listening company a smart rebrand or a small category of AEW? Or is AEW just asking for trouble by letting the crowd take over the show? And do you prefer or do you prefer the polished WWE style or the raw AEW feed? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you on the next video.